Do you know how to make good choices with your money as an adult?
I'm Alex. This is Felipe. We teach you what you need to know about your personal finances using words that you can actually understand without boring you to death.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button, and in the comments below, drop some emojis that show us what you like to spend your money on.
Well, my puppy won't be quiet, and she's being really feisty, and we're trying to shoot a video. So it's just gonna have to be in our video. Before you ever make a budget, there's things that you need to know about your spending habits. So today we're gonna go over your income, your expenses, needs versus wants, and then go over to how to save some money. We've taught thousands of high school students in our community about budgeting, and these are some of the topics that they struggle with the most when they're getting started.
So we've broken this down into 4 different steps or categories. So step 1 is income, right? So depending on if your income is going to be weekly or every other week, you need to figure out.
Monthly, where you get paid on tips.
Yeah, you need to figure out where your money's coming in, right?
So how do you figure out which bills to pay, right? And when do you actually pay those bills? That's pretty important to understand is, do I pay my rent in the first of the month? Do I pay on the 15th or the 20th? Or when does your paycheck actually come in? Those are all things you have to consider. Or do you even get a paycheck and you just work on tips?
And then on top of your paycheck, is your paycheck always the same? Do you make more some weeks than other weeks? Do you get paid less some weeks? How do you go about factoring in your income for your soon-to-be budget that you're going to make?
So if you don't always make the same amount of money, then you got to factor that in, right? And then you have to live on the lower amount, right? So if you don't get the same amount of hours every single week, then you got to figure out, how am I going to live on less? And that's the important one. Not if you get $500 a week one week, but the next week you get $400. Don't plan on that $500 every single week. Plan on the lower amount. Plan on living on the $400, and when you get extra, put that money in savings.
Exactly.
So step number 2 is expenses. There's 2 different types. There's fixed and variable. And fixed expenses are things that are never going to change, so they're easy to plan on. So like, for example, your rent or car payment or your phone bill. And then there's variables.
Variable expenses are the expenses that are always going to change, right? So if you get coffee every day, or the amount of gas that you're going to spend in your car, or public transportation, or clothing, or food, these are all things that you're going to spend different amounts of money on every single month.
And it's better to overestimate than underestimate. So for me, I used to way underestimate on food, on how much I was going to spend throughout the entire month for my family to eat. And I'd say, it's going to cost me like $500. But in reality, I'd spend $750. I've got a wife and 2 kids. And I got a dog, obviously. So it's better to overestimate than at the end of the month be like, well, where did the rest of my money go? Or why am I in the negative?
Be honest with yourself. This number could be negative.
And that sucks.
Step number 3, needs versus wants. It's going to be the emotional part of money, and it's not going to be easy.
People are going to call you cheap. They're going to want to go out to fancy places to eat dinner, have birthday parties, and you're going to have to pick and choose of what you're going to say no to.
It's going to be hard. Everybody wants to post on social media all the fancy stuff that they've done, fancy places they're eating, vacations that they're going on. But you're going to have to focus on the now and yourself and not on your image on social media.
So what is actually a need versus a want, right? You need to pay your bills. You might want some new shoes or some fancy things, but those are wants. And a lot of people make the mistake of, oh, I'm going to go buy this thing that I want, and then I'll pay my bills. No, that's the wrong answer. Pay your bills first, and then if you have anything left over at the end of the month, figure out what you're going to do with that. Are you going to save it? Are you going to spend money on whatever those things are that you want? But don't ever buy what you want first and then pay your bills, because that's a great way to end up really broke. Step number 4, where to save money at, which is going to be in the variables category.
Variables, again, are going to be things like your groceries, your entertainment, your clothing, your miscellaneous wants that you're going to want to buy. So, a couple things. When you do your grocery shopping, make a list. Eat a snack before you go. You never want to go grocery shopping hungry, because then you're going to buy everything.
All the Oreos.
All of them. Gas. plan your trips, where you're going to go, so you're not wasting gas. It's not needed. Entertainment. Do you need to watch a movie this week? Do you not?
Do you need to go out? That's the hardest one, honestly, because we all want to have a social life, right? Or if you're dating somebody, right? You don't want to stay in all the time. It gets pretty old. But you can do things for cheap. You don't have to go spend money and try to look like a baller when you're really not, right? Everybody knows when you're young, you don't have any money. So don't try to fake the funk and look like you have money when you don't, right? It's more important to pay your bills and stick to some kind of budget than try to impress everybody.
Most of all, be realistic. This is where you can blow your budget out of the water. If you splurge here and you're like, oh, I've already ruined the budget, you're just going to continue to do that, and there's just going to be no recovery.
So the most important thing to remember is live like you're broke because you're broke.
Word. If you like this video, hit the like button.
Don't forget to subscribe. And leave a comment down below. And if you have a friend that's a fake baller, make sure you share this with them too.